raised on the Gold Coast, a place called Fingal. Its cultural name is Puningbar. And if you have a look over here, you'll see this block of forest and rainforest and marsh and mangroves. That's Puningbar here. For those who are into surfing, this is the Billabong Pro here at Snapper Rocks. So I had a lot of early childhood floundering around in the water, getting chased by sharks, etc. Grew up in a smallish family, eight siblings I had, but my mother and father were part of a larger group of 15 each. So my community is quite massive in that regard. So growing up in Fingal around a lot of my uncles and aunties, it was predominantly gospel songs, choir songs, spiritual songs. There was a lot of Indigenous influences around storytelling, around the campfire, etc., etc. But predominantly it was playing with whatever instrument you had available. Fast forward, I got into a band, put a crowbar through my toe on the Gold Coast Council, had 6 months off work, and I heard about this amazing place in Adelaide called Chasm, where it was a focused, dedicated music program designed to empower Aboriginal people through music. So I jumped on a flight, auditioned, got into Chasm, started here in 91, went back to the Gold Coast, completed a degree at a contemporary music school in Lismore, got headhunted by Chasm. They asked me to come down here to teach for 6 months. 30 years later, I'm still here. So I learned a lot of my musical experience from my father. And there's this funny story where my father was teaching me "You Are My Sunshine." I remember this. And I thought I was doing quite all right with that song. And my mum walks in. I've never seen my mum play guitar ever. And so I started showing off in front of my mother and cheering, "Oh, that's good, son." And so I said, "Oh, see if you can do this, Mum." So she picks up this right-hand guitar, flips it over left-handed. And I said, "Yeah, you got this all wrong." And she played it. And I was blown away. I thought, what is going on here? First of all, I've never seen a guitar played like that. But secondly, it just goes to show when you don't have radio, television, all that sort of thing around you, music was the very, very core of life. And I realized then that everybody played guitar. So I was actually, I was beyond the starting blocks on that one. But I did learn a lot, and that inspired me to go further with guitar, knowing that my mum can play it upside down. Yeah, so I did learn a lot of those 3 chords, progressions around the hymn playing. And then I started to listen to more contemporary sounds like Dire Straits. Mark Knopfler was a huge influence on me, who was obviously influenced by people like Chet Atkins and Travis Style picking, which is the old alternative thumb accompaniment around a melody and rhythm. So I went down that path for a while, and it wasn't until about 8 years ago here at Chasm I started to really develop that style. And I put a few pieces on socials, and out of the blue I get a message from someone from the ASO and said, "Hey, how would you like to come in and write a piece for orchestra around those pieces you did?" I thought, yeah, you got to be joking, right? As it turned out, I did get commissioned to write an hour piece of music around that story of my upbringing at Fingal. Stories that come to life through music, sitting around the campfire, about how the evolution of music. If someone said to me, "One day you'll be writing songs and the orchestra is going to play it with you," I would have went, sure. Let alone teaching music for 30 years at a university. So that was a real eye-opener. And talking about the evolution of Indigenous music, I think that's why I'm still here. I think that's why I'm still at Chasm. I think that whole empowerment model of, advocacy for Indigenous aspirations in the community and empowering people is where I come from. Someone believed in me to walk through this door. And now I'm director at, the oldest Aboriginal music school in Australia. It's incredible. I got an E for music in high school. I got an E for music in high school. For me, I was lucky enough to come to Chasm where I thought music was just about a personal space within myself. Within 3 months, I'm in the APY lands in the Central Desert. I come from this beautiful place here, blue everywhere, rainforest. And in 3 months, I'm sitting in the middle of the desert. We did a thing called Inma, and if you look here, this is the Wadi Nintaka headdress, and we would pick a student and run through Inma ceremony, practicing this thing out there. And we'd go up and perform this for 4 nights with 150 Anungol. And there would be 5, 6, 7, 8 fires around you in the middle of this, and lots of singing and dancing. And they would generally go for about 3 or 4 hours. I learnt more about my own culture and music in that one Inma session. Being away and being like this I was in cultural shock. I'm very fortunate enough to be one of 2 Indigenous directors here at Chasm, the very first Indigenous directors at this wonderful music program. Chasm has opened these doors and put me in places where it's pushed me outside of that shell of thinking about myself as an individual artist, and empowering Indigenous mob where there is no light. That's the power of this position. And so that drives me along as a person. 2 years ago, we had a group come from the APY lands. Through our experiences and our connections through a historical context with APY lands and our industry connections at Chasm, within 6 months, we're in Barcelona. And then under a year later, that band is performing at Lincoln Center in New York. Those things are testament to the program, number one, but it's about allowing that voice to be heard, whoever that is coming through here. And what I love about this job, going back to the question, is I can see that in people. And I'm in a position to empower them. But Chasm's also about continuing on that tradition of popping out all this incredible talent. It started in the early 80s with No Fixed Address and Coloured Stone and, Us Mob and Cuckles and all these guys. They had people that come through Chasm that, were foundational in things like Bangara dance, like the Pages and so forth. So stepping into Chasm and knowing that is the legacy that's left behind, it's an incredible feeling to have to number one, it's a lot of pressure to keep on trying to pull that out. But, last year we had Dem Mob come through here, and those guys won 5 South Australian Music Awards in one sitting. So that kind of lifted up the palette a bit for us again. And I believe that Chasm will always be that. It's a cultural magnet to our community. I really do believe that.